Hi, this is Sai back in the car park garden. Now, in the last video I told you that I was about to harvest all the greens that you see here. Well, it got delayed by a couple of days because it has been raining almost incessantly. It's not a torrential rain, but still there has been light drizzling throughout the day, and so I had to select a time when things are much better so that I don't fall sick. Now you can see that I've already harvested the spinach that I had out there, and this is the quantity of spinach that I got. Now I'm going to weigh it and let you know how much this weighs. And right now I'm in the middle of harvesting green amaranth. Now if you would see, what I'm trying to do is I'm just trying to pluck out the leaves which are there right throughout the stem. I'm not cutting the stem. The stem, for those who don't know, is pretty much edible. Now if it has if it still feels tender and you can bend it across, then it's probably good to eat it. But if it seems firm and hard, then it has a lot of cellulose content, I believe, and it won't be too good on your stomach. But still people sometimes remove this outer layering which is there. Can you see this? And they boil it, they hard boil it so that this becomes soft, and then they can consume it. Now my mom was just here and she was telling me a couple of things. She was saying that this is the volunteer amaranth that I have, and she was telling that if you want your plants to give their foliage, to give their leaves on the bottom half and not rise to the top, it is better to start cutting the tips. And this is what I was also saying in the last video, but I didn't mention this. So even in this case, even in this green amaranth, what I'm planning to do is I'm planning to cut off these tops. But right now, for the harvest purpose, I'm just taking out the leaves, because once you remove the stem, if you can, let's say you cut the stem from here, or let me show you one which has a good amount of leaves. Now let's say this one, I can harvest this plant either by taking out the leaves, or I can cut the stem here somewhere and take out the leaves later on and probably use the stem as well. However, what happens is that once you take out the stem and the leaves are still attached to the stem, you keep it like that for about an hour or so, and because these leaves are not getting water and other nutrients from the potting mix because it has been cut, what happens is they start getting stuck like this. So they will start overlapping each other, they will start falling over each other, and it becomes difficult to remove the leaves at that point of time. So one way is to cut the stem and immediately remove the leaves, but if you suspect that there is going to be a bit of delay, it is better to take out the leaves like I am doing. And it isn't that hard. You don't even need a scissors or a knife for it, and for that matter you don't even have to use the thumbnail. You can just pluck it. It's as easy as it sounds. So this is what I am doing here, and taking all the greens from here. The next in line would be red amaranth, and as I said, I already have dill and coriander on this side. So I'll join you after a short break. So I am in the red amaranth section, and what I found was that taking amaranth, that is red amaranth, harvesting red amaranth is by far the easiest thing to do. If you just look here, this is the green amaranth, and it looks like a mayhem which happened here. That is because there are small leaves, big leaves, and even the texture of the leaves is a bit fragile. However, coming over to red amaranth, well, it has got a bit of a thick texture, and that's why it's easy to pluck it. And I'm also using the scissors sometimes because the leaves are big and it's easy to identify what I'm cutting. So this is with regard to the red amaranth section. So I just started harvesting the dill that I had, and this is the first time I'm harvesting dill, and my god, it smells beautiful. Probably there should be some kind of perfumes based on the smell. And dill holds a lot of water. You can see that my hands are pretty much wet. Now I was harvesting red amaranth and green amaranth, and my hands didn't get that wet, but I just hold this and see how much water is there in it. So this holds a lot of water, and probably the weight that I'm going to get of this might not be pretty accurate. So after a long and tiring harvest, I am here ready to weigh whatever harvest I have got. So in front of me is a weighing machine, and this has already been calibrated. That's why you see the weight as minus 0.326 kgs. Once I put this comes to 0. So essentially these trays that you see in front of me are of the same make, so I assume that they have the same weight. And let me just quickly weigh in the produce that I have got. So this is green amaranth. So I've got about 270 grams of green amaranth. Then this is red amaranth. So this is about 320 grams of red amaranth. This is roughly 16 grams of coriander, and I think this should be enough for one day's cooking. Now this is dill. Now I have never had any food preparation made of dill. Let's see whether we use it directly or we use it in some of the food preparation that we have, probably as some kind of topping. Now this is 184 grams. And coming up is one of the biggies, that is spinach. So I have put an empty tray here and the weight clock's at 0. And let me just start putting it. So it's already at somewhere around 600 grams. It's a bit wet, but because I'm changing it from one container to another container, some of the water has been deposited to the end of this pink container. So I assume that I can fairly take whatever the weight I'm getting as accurate. Okay guys, the final weight clocks at about 1200 grams, that is 1.2 kgs. Now I would probably subtract 100 grams or so for the water that is already on the leaves because of the rain. So I had pretty much rightly estimated that I'm going to get about 750 grams of spinach, give or take. I've got almost the same kind of quantity. Now these kind of small estimates are important because when you go out in the market, you know that you're probably going to buy, let's say, 250 grams of a vegetable or 500 grams of a vegetable. So by knowing the number of containers in which you are going to put the seeds, you should be in a position to guess how much produce that you can get. Now the process that we are doing is natural, and I completely agree that this is not something that you can always bank on, but the estimate, especially if you're not getting pests and during a time like this when the weather is becoming much more and more favorable, it's raining and it's cold outside, cool outside. I was wearing a cap when I was there outside, and what happens is that this is the kind of climate that most of the plants love, and especially your creepers are going to come in really fast and give a lot of produce. So in times like this, having these kind of rough estimates, they are not complete, they are not completely accurate, but still having that estimate helps you. So I have put spinach in about 9 to 10 grow bags, and this is the kind of produce that I got in roughly a month or so, or probably just more than that. Now I have got about 250 grams of 250 grams of green amaranth and about 320 grams of red amaranth. the point is that I was harvesting them sustainably, so still they are small leaves which are going to grow big, and I didn't want to harvest them right now. And this should be enough for about 3 to 4 meals in my family. So I mean, the amaranth, the spinach is going to last much longer, so probably I have to distribute in the community. But this is the kind of estimate. If you have, you can understand the kind of growth that you are going to get, the kind of harvest that you are going to get. Again, I put amaranth, both the green and the red, in 10 grow bags. So that's it, guys. This is the kind of harvest that I've got. Now I have to start working on the other side of the car park garden. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to subscribe.